Hello, welcome to the Daily Devotion. I'm Kathy Morris, pastor of the Dixon United Methodist Church. Agapé is the Greek word that the Apostle Paul and the early Christians used when they were speaking about the self-giving love of Christ. Paul encouraged Christians to live the agape of Christ in their relationships with others, and especially in their relationships with one another. Paul was particularly focused on agape when it involved conflict between Christians. One of the conflicts in the early church had to do with food that had been a part of pagan ritual. There were some Christians who believed that it was acceptable to eat that food because, after all, those rituals meant nothing. But other Christians believed that it was not acceptable, and so they abstained from any food that had been a part of such a ritual. Paul didn't think that it was a matter that was worthy of an argument, and so he encouraged Christians to focus on building up one another and living the love of Christ in all that they did and all that they said. Our reading today comes from his letter to the Romans, chapter 14, verse 13, and I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. Let us therefore no longer pass judgment on one another, but resolve instead never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of another. Saint Ephraem Syrus lived between 306 and 373. He was a biblical scholar and poet. In fact, his scholarly writings were written in verse. In 1920, he was given the designation Doctor of the Church. Ephraem also understood that there are grave problems that go with judging. And so we can hear this in one of his prayers. O Lord and Master of my life, take from me the spirit of sloth, despondency, lust of power, and idle talk, but grant rather the spirit of chastity, humility, patience, and love to thy servant. Yea, O Lord and King, grant me to see my own transgressions, and not to judge my brother. For blessed art thou unto the age of ages. A gesture that we often associate with judgment is finger pointing. And so as a prayer exercise, I invite you to take your index fingers and point them out toward others. Then to extend all of your fingers and bring your hands together. Then rotate them up into the traditional prayer position. Let this gesture be a sign of your desire to turn from judgment to agape.